Pledge. Jump right in.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order for Thursday, October 13th. If everybody would please rise and get ready for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
In accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, I wish to announce that the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. Notices announcing the date, time, and place for this meeting were sent to all concerned individuals, associations, and sent to Union County Local Source in accordance with Chapter 231 of Public Law 1975. Now for the roll. Ms. Stanton?
Here.
Dr. Porak?
Here.
Ms. Miller?
Here.
Ms. Justice?
Here.
Ms. Cohn?
Here.
Vice President Cho?
Here.
President Cologne?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Excellent. So we kick right off into presentations, discussions, HIB, Student Safety Data Systems, and state testing data. And so, want to have Crystal come right up?
Yep.
Start right away. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. Just first a quick note about our jazz combo out there. They were great, wonderful. They really set the tone for tonight. Very special celebration. So we're going to improve staff this evening. I'm going to introduce Ms. Crystal Marr, Director of Student Personnel Services. She has recently been appointed as our new anti-bullying coordinator. She is going to present our student safety data system data tonight, as well as our HIB, harassment, intimidation, self-assessment, and our investigations training programs. We're required twice a year to present the HIV data to the public. The data that you're going to see tonight is based on all incidences that occurred between January 1 of last year and June 30 of last year. That's Crystal Marr.
Absolutely. Thank you, Superintendent Huff. So as he said, this is a presentation that the board is aware we are required by the state of New Jersey to report out twice annually data regarding student safety, suspensions, harassment, intimidation, bullying, as well as district programming and trainings that we conduct. As you can see, we include data from the current year as well as historical data from the 3 prior school years. All of the data represented here are incidences of violence and vandalism. The categories on the right under the 2 headings represent the types of incidents that the state requires us to track and keep data on. These incidents represent a time when a student received exclusionary discipline either through in-school suspension or out-of-school suspension or was otherwise removed from the school setting. It's important to note that a single incident can account for multiple data points. For example, if there was a threat with a weapon, that single incident that results in 2 data points for threat and for weapon. Again, you can see the data represented for the second semester of 18-19 school year through the second semester of the 21-22 school year. On this slide, you can see a continuation of the data in the same format. This data represents offenses related to substance use and other incidents that may not fall into the prior categories, but are also captured in the suspension data. Other incidents leading to removal include, but are not limited to, inappropriate language, inappropriate behavior, insubordination, and other actions that do not fit within the state categories. Note that this slide shows a significant dip during the 1920 and 2021 school year when abbreviated schedules and social distancing was required. The upcoming portion of this presentation will provide context for our HIB, harassment, intimidation, and bullying information. We're required to report the total number of HIB cases that are investigated and are affirmed by the school board during the reporting period. The upcoming slides will show the number of confirmed cases as well as the remediation that occurred for those confirmed cases. Additionally, we will report out the school and district initiatives and programming that took place. Also required in our report is a list of the anti-bullying coordinators and the specialists at each school, which can be found on this slide. Please note that there's at least 1 coordinator listed for each school. Here we have the total number of harassment, intimidation, and bullying cases investigated and confirmed in each building. As you can see, the first number represents the number of cases investigated, And the second number represents the number of confirmed HIB cases, which means they were found to be in violation of the harassment, intimidation, and bullying policy. Where you see the asterisks, please note that these include cases that were within the reporting period, but were not affirmed until after the reporting period ended. But we chose to include them within the presentation. It's important to note here that between the 2021 school year and the 2022 school years, there was a return to normalcy and reacclimation to social settings within our schools and schools across the nation. During this reacclimation period, we do see an increase in the number of cases as students reintegrated into their daily interactions after 2 years of isolation and hybrid learning. A summary of the nature of confirmed harassment, intimidation, and bullying cases, as well as remediation and discipline measures, are presented here. As you can see, themes emerging from the nature of HIBs are gender identity and expression, ancestry, mental, physical, or sensory disability, appearance, color, race, ethnic origin, and sexual orientation. We only include remediation for affirmed cases in this presentation. Remediation and discipline for these incidents include, but are not limited to, parent contact, student conferences, support services, counseling, referral for treatment or therapy, denial of privileges, as well as detentions. On this slide, we have the trainings that occurred the second half of last school year. We continue to provide opportunities to train on the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights and our school district policy. All classroom teachers in grades K-12, including newly onboarded staff, have been trained in implicit bias. Our school counselors, K-12, who are also our anti-bullying specialists at each of the school sites, have also been taking part in their association's diversity, equity, and inclusion training. In my role as anti-bullying coordinator, I'm required to attend annually training on updates to the HIB law and case study and analysis, which was completed through a training by the Strauss Esme firm this school year. And additionally, we continue at school sites to provide training on brain science and student development, as well as training on restorative practices. Programs that take place across the district to address harassment, intimidation, and bullying include lessons on social emotional learning, morning meetings at the elementary level, classroom lessons at both the elementary and secondary levels, school climate team meetings at each school that meet at least twice a year, as well as student surveys that take place. Additional programming includes, but is not limited to, student assemblies, guest speakers, and teacher training programs. Every year, we are also required to conduct a self-assessment determination. That's conducted through the school safety team at each school, chaired by the anti-bullying specialist. This team includes building administrators, teaching staff, support staff. They meet a minimum of 2 times a year to review school climate, incidents, trends, and updates on the law. There are 8 core elements that are covered within this assessment: HIB programs and approaches, other initiatives, training on HIB policy, other staff instruction and training, curriculum and instruction on HIB, HIB personnel, HIB incident reporting procedures, HIB investigation procedures, and HIB reporting. Within those 8 core elements, there are 4 indicators showing compliance. School teams mark an indicator for each element asserting that their school does not, partially, meets or exceeds those requirements. All of our schools meet or exceed requirements for each core indicator. Here's our self-assessment summary report for 21-22, and as a whole, the district has rated all indicators as meets or exceeds, as I said, and self-assessments were completed by each building school safety team, again chaired by the anti-bullying specialist. Thank you very much.
Any questions from the board?
Just one clarification, Crystal.
Sure.
You did say that affirmed cases of HIBs are remediated. Unconfirmed cases still get time and attention.
They still get time and attention, that's correct, it's just not represented in this presentation.
Thank you, Crystal.
Sure.
All right, our second presentation of the evening, we are required to present our standardized assessment scores every year within 60 days of receiving them. This is the first year we are returning to this practice after 3 years. Our NJSLA scores from last spring will be presented here by Dr. Cordero. It's important to note that considering what we've gone through the last several years, it's really just an adjustment period again. It's kind of reestablishing a benchmark year, but it's important data to us to reflect upon, take a look. And as we develop our instructional plans moving forward, coming out of the pandemic, I think we're very well positioned, very well equipped to continue to excel in public schools. With that, Dr. Cordero.
Thank you, Superintendent Huff. Good evening, everyone. I'm here to present the 2022-23 state assessment data for the Summit Public Schools. This is the first administration since the 2018-2019 school year. The NJSLA tests our students in ELA from grades 3 to 9. It tests our students in mathematics in grades 3 to 8, including Algebra 1 and Geometry, and science grades 5, 8, and 11. The NJSLA is aligned to the New Jersey Student Learning Standards, and there are 5 performance levels. Did not meet expectations, partially met expectations, approached expectations, met expectations, and exceeded expectations. In this slide, you will see that we are well above the state average in ELA grades 3 to 5. In some cases, as can be seen with grade 4, we are 35% higher with an 84.5 proficiency rate as compared to the 49.4% efficiency rate of the state. Historically, we have always outperformed the state and continue to be well above state averages. In grade 3, we had a 42.2% proficiency rate for the state, and in Summit Public Schools, we were at a 77.8%. So for those who are looking at how to read it, the state average is the gray, we are in the maroon. In this slide, you will see again the same trend. However, this is in mathematics grades 3 to 5. We are well above the state average in mathematics. In some cases, as can be seen with 4th grade, we are 37% higher with a 76.2% proficiency rate as compared to a 39.4% proficiency rate as per the state. Historically, in mathematics 3 to 5, we have also outperformed the state and continue to be well above state averages. Here we look at ELA for grades 6 through 9, and the trend continues where we are well above the state in our exceeded and met expectations as compared to the state averages, which were much lower. And this trend, again, and I keep repeating myself, but historically in the Summit Public Schools, we have always been above the state, and this trend continues even post-pandemic. So this is mathematics. This is our grade 6 through 8 general mathematics, and then we have Algebra 1 and Geometry. So I can see right away the low passing percentage looks concerning to our district for only a 34% passing rate in 8th grade. But what we have to realize that in the 8th grade, we remove the top students and they go into Algebra 1, so they take the NJSLA Algebra 1. So therefore, our numbers of the top students are reflected in the Algebra 1 scores, and we do see a lower 8th grade score. We are well aware of that, and for example, if we were to take those students out of Algebra 1 and put them back into grade 8, then our proficiency rate would be at a 69%, which is similar to 7th grade and 6th grade. The 15.4% in 8th grade for the state kind of signals that the test was flawed somewhere. But even when we look at that, we still doubled the proficiency rate in the district at a 34.3%. One method we continue to use to analyze our data was compare cohorts from year to year. For example, when we look at data for grades 3, 4, and 5, we would look at grade 3, The following year, follow that cohort to grade 4, then grade 5. The data window would then assist us in identifying data trends when it comes to student performance and would help us with targeted instruction to meet student need. As I mentioned before, the NJSLA has not been administered since the 2018-2019 school year. Doing a cohort-to-cohort comparison would not make sense because these students are now 3 grade levels beyond where they were in 18-19. For example, those 3rd graders in 18-19 sat for the 6th grade test in 21-22. But we still wanted to take a look at our students' performance and to see how we fared as a district pre-COVID as compared to post-COVID. What we have done is take the 4-year average of our met and exceeded proficiency rate and compared this data to the spring 2022 administration. As you can see in grades 3 to 5, in the grades 3 to 5 span for ELA, we had a 4-year average proficiency rate of 78%. And when we look at the 21-22 met or exceeded average, we are at 75%. When we look at the 6 to 8 ELA band, we are equivalent in proficiency rates for 21-22 as compared to the 4-year average. We are happy to see that our students are performing at or are very close to pre-COVID levels on these assessments. We did the same things with mathematics. We did the same thing with mathematics by taking the 4-year average of our met and exceeded proficiency rate and comparing this data to the spring 2022 administration of the NJSLA. We were able to look at performance, again, pre-COVID as compared to post-COVID. As you can see again, as I mentioned before, the 8th grade score is a little low because those students who are the top performing head into Algebra 1. And here we were equivalent to pre-COVID levels with an 81% in both. And then our geometry scores were at a 93% for the 21-22 administration as compared to the 70% we were pre-COVID. The next test that we have to administer, and it's administered in grades 5, 8, and 11, is the science exam, NJSLA. As you can see from these numbers, we outperformed the state in grade 5, grade 8, and grade 11. In some cases, more than doubled the state average. So what is our plan? And this is not a plan just because of NJSLA numbers. This is our plan going in. This was our plan last school year, looking at the data that we had. So one of the things we do as a district is we look at our school-based data teams are analyzing evidence statement reports and grade level assessment data. An evidence statement report gives us a breakdown of the standards that the assessment, ELA or math, questions were based on. And these questions then give us an indicator of how our students performed on each of these questions, which aligns then to the standards. Secondly, we have instructional coaches who are working with our administrators and teachers with a lens on the curricular needs of the school. Our teachers are delivering targeted and informed instruction daily. We're using iReady personalized instructional plans based upon the diagnostic assessments that the students receive in the fall, in the fall, and once again in the spring. And we're providing differentiated support based on student need. Our next state assessment for the 21-22 school year was Access for ELLs. This test is administered to kindergarten through grade 12 students who have been identified as English language learners, is given annually to monitor student progress in learning academic English. It meets U.S. federal requirements of the Every Student Succeeds Act by monitoring and reporting ELL's progress towards English language proficiency. Is anchored in the WIDA English Language Development Standards, accesses the 4 language domains of listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and measures students in oral language, literacy, and comprehension. The required score to exit a program for our ELL students is 4.0. 0.5. In the Summit Public Schools, we have 155 students who identify as ELL. 32% of those students have been in American schools for less than 1 year or less. 14% of our students have been in American schools for 14%. Oh, excuse me, 14% of our students have been in American schools for 2 years or less. When we look at this slide, we see how our students performed in the domains based upon the scores on top. So for example, in the listening domain, we had 57% of our students scored in the bridging, reteaching stage. So when you're at that stage, that means you're close to exiting. When we look at speaking, we see that 51% were in the developing and expanding range. Reading, we had students, 43% were at the entering emerging phase. Writing, 60% of our students were at the developing and expanding. Oral language, 41% were at the developing stage. Literacy, 50-somewhat% were in literacy. And then overall, our students are testing in the developing and expanding cohort. So that's the picture of our students when we speak about our ELL population. And when we look at this test, it shows us that, yes, there's much work to be done, and our teachers are doing a great job with our students, but there's so much that has to be done, especially when that number of being in our schools in American schools for 1 year is at 32%. That's something we're very well aware of. Our next exam is the dynamic learning maps. This is an alternative assessment for students with the most significant learning disabilities in English, mathematics, and science. It's an online assessment with 4 performance levels: emerging, approaching the target, at target, and advanced. As you can see here, the proficiency level for English language arts, we had 35% scored at target level. And just for everyone to understand, the number of students who took the DLM was 37 students. So of those 37 students, 35% were at target. This is the proficiency level in mathematics, and we can see Math Emerging had the highest percentage with 40% of our students within this range. However, 21% were at approaching, 18% at target, as well as 18% advanced. And lastly, the last assessment taken for the DLM is the science assessment. 58% of our students were at an emerging stage, 11% approaching, and then 29% were at target. And that's our data for this last school.
Any questions from the board? Thank you, Dr. Bricker. Thank you, sir. I think we're coming back up, right?
Okay. Thank you. Crystal, Dr. Cordero, Superintendent Huff. We have a break coming, but not quite yet. New hires to report and vote on. So I will move it to you, Superintendent Huff.
Thank you, President Colon. As many of you know, we like to celebrate our new hires and welcome them to our community. Quite a reduction in the number of people we're celebrating today compared to months past as we were getting ready to staff for the school year. Only 3 new hires this month for approval. We have 2 in our presence here tonight that we'd like to celebrate, starting with Maria Duran Sierra. Maria, would you stand up? Maria is going to be teaching ESL at the middle school. So we welcome you and look forward to your contributions. And secondly, Ms. Jenna Calinari. Jenna is going to be approved as the assistant principal at the middle school. She's a passionate, committed professional for more than 15 years in special education teaching experience here in Summit Public Schools. Throughout her 9-year tenure as special education teacher at the middle school, she facilitated teacher training for the use of iReady data systems, developed and implemented curriculum, and advanced and delivered professional development. She has also been a member of several committees, including the District Equity Advisory Council, the School Safety Team, and the School Safety Team. Prior to her role at the middle school, Ms. Calinari was a special education at Franklin Elementary School for 6 years. Congratulations, Jenna. We look forward to your contributions.
And Jenna supports her niece at softball games. So she has my full support. I will make a motion to approve the new hires.
May I have a second?
Second.
You? All right, Ms. Stanton,
Yes.
Dr. Porak,
Yes.
Ms. Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Justice, Ms. Cohn,
Yes.
Vice President Cho,
Yes.
President Cohn.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Congratulations.
Okay, we will take a very brief 3-minute break, and then we will jump back in with announcements and committee reports, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, good to go. Back in session. Starts with President's announcements. So I will jump right in. There you go. Keeps going on. Okay, we're good. My comments this month are focused on one very important initiative at Summit High School, which is stamping out the stigma. This program works to recognize that one's mental health, like physical health, needs to be nurtured and cared for, and that mental and physical health are interrelated and 2 sides of the same coin. This initiative is dedicated to presenting hope to those who are struggling with mental health, suicide, self-injury, and addiction, reminding us that we all face challenges, but we must push through the challenges with support and understanding. Summit High School is leading this effort through a variety of events and projects. First, students participated in the semicolon project. A semicolon is used when an author could have chosen to end their sentence, but chose not to, making the semicolon symbolic of the choice to continue with life. As a part of this project, students wrote on sticky notes what they're looking forward to in the future, such as graduating from high school, buying a car, going to college, etc. The Mental Health Awareness Club at the high school, Students Helping Students, contributed to this program. On Monday, October 3rd, Sam Anthony Lucania, a TEDx speaker, 5-star author, personal trainer, and overdose survivor and recovery advocate, shared his program, We All Have Something in Common, through multiple assemblies. It was a powerful and moving presentation. Sam used his personal experiences to educate and motivate others. During the lunch block that day, students were offered a special workshop, 5 ways to help a friend that is struggling. Students who chose to attend learned skills to support friends in need, including lessons on mental health first aid. The program and workshop were both funded by Shaping Summit Together, the district's partner in the Stamping Out the Stigma initiative. And I'd like to thank the leadership, the volunteers, and the donors to shaping Summit Together for their contributions to the Stamping Out the Stigma effort now and throughout the rest of this year. Thank you. Parents and guardians can also help stamp out the stigma by joining us for a special parent wellness event on October 26th at 7 p.m. at Summit High School. The topic of the event, Raising Resilient Teens in Challenging Times, will feature guest speakers Susan Talone, Clinical Director of the Society for the Prevention of Teen Suicide, and Jamie Carvalho, co-founder of the Carn Psychotherapy Group. The presentation will focus on building strength and resilience in our teens and provide parents with the knowledge and information necessary to feel more comfortable and prepared for having productive discussions with their children. The presentation includes information on challenges for parents, teen mental health, and substance use trends, risk factors, warning signs, protective factors, and fostering a resilient mindset. This coming Tuesday, October 18th, Summit High School is hosting a self-care fair. The self-care fair will bring over 25 local organizations to our students so they can see and experience the full range of service available to them. The goal of this event is to raise awareness, provide community resources, and educate our students, faculty, and staff on ways to integrate mental health and wellness into our daily lives. And at the end of the month, which is Red Ribbon Week, Student Assistance Counselor Amy Herber will spearhead a drug prevention campaign focusing on the dangers of fentanyl. There'll be a number of drug and alcohol prevention programs throughout the year that will connect with Stamping Out the Stigma. And the Students Helping Students Club will conclude the program for the school year by hosting a variety of events centered around Mental Health Awareness Month, which is in May. Additional events and projects will be shared with the district community through our monthly newsletter, as well as on the district website and social media platforms. So obviously, there are a lot of good things happening with respect to support programs for our high school students, middle school as well, which is absolutely fantastic. Can't say enough good things about that. The only other item that I have for my comments is the informal Q&A coffee session that we have on the 19th? 19th. The 19th at 9 a.m. at Washington Elementary School. So myself, Yan Cho, and any other board members interested in attending and participating, along with Superintendent Huff. So a less formal, environment to engage in conversation about the happenings in the school district and the schools. And that's all from me. Pass it on to you, Superintendent Huff.
Thank you, President Colon, and very well said in your report. The work that everyone is doing in this community, in the school, in partnership with Shaping Summit Together is just fantastic. A lot of time never goes into that. That was very well done. I'm going to start my report with a comment about back to school night. For the first time in 3 years, every school was in person, and it was really just as much a celebration as anything else. Parents were excited to walk the halls. Teachers were prepared and excited to share the information. I was able to get to almost every school, and from my perspective, it couldn't have been a better night. So I really want to thank the teachers and administrators for all their hard work and preparation to prepare for the parents and welcome them into our schools once again. Continuing with the Week of Respect, our schools participated on October 3rd through 7th, where each day of the week was dedicated to wearing something represented kindness and respect. For example, one day was Blue Out Bullying, where students wore blue, and another day was Team Up Against Bullying, where students wore gear from their favorite team. Elementary schools also put up displays in the hallway sharing how they respect each other and how they respect their schools. For Hispanic Heritage Month, Franklin Elementary School has been learning about influential Hispanic figures, Spanish phrases, and other fun facts during the morning announcements in celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month. And Washington Elementary School is also celebrating the month by having parents share cultural artifacts with the school, and the school's Ole Ole Student Leadership Group will be running a Hispanic Heritage Assembly. In news in the primary centers, our students have been introduced to Chromebooks, and our young scholars are practicing logging in and accessing programs and software to practice skills and concepts that they're learning in class. The students are learning to work independently and are making a lot of progress in this area. At Brayton School, students are celebrating Start with Hello Week In September, each day, students and staff participated in activities to encourage getting to know one another. One of the activities was Thoughtful Thursday, where students wrote a positive note about another student and posted it on the bulletin board. Lincoln Hubbard School hosted the first student staff playdate of the year. The purpose of this date was simple: go outside, connect with your teachers, and have fun. It was a huge success. I myself engaged in the game of football, and I got intercepted twice by a Lincoln Hubbard fifth grader. I will say, the same kid.
Sign him up.
Sign them up. And at Washington Elementary School, they once again celebrated their annual wellness walk. It took place on Friday, October 7th. It's another initiative to be healthy, take a break, and have fun. At our middle school, the annual 6th grade Stokes trip occurred on September 16th through 18th at Fairview Lake. This outdoor educational experience is designed, to help students from our 5 elementary schools get to know each other, understand one another, and appreciate one another. Middle school also hosted their annual club fair for students to explore different co-curricular activities and experiences. And in the arts, an announcement that the Summit High School Theater Arts Program will present the dramatic comedy She Kills Monsters, Young Adventures Edition, for their fall play November 17th, 18th, and 19th at 7:30 here in the high school auditorium. Tickets will go on sale October 24th. And I will defer the rest of the exciting happenings at the high school for our student report. And that concludes my report, President Clough.
That's great. Should we, I'll ask the board secretary, should we motion to approve the HIB and suspensions before we have the most important speaker get to the microphone?
Yes.
Okay, let's do that. Could I have a motion to approve under item 7, A and B?
Second. Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Dr. Porak? Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Cohen?
Yes.
Vice President Cho?
Yes.
President Cologne?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. We move to our student board representative, Miss Lena Kifnitis. Lena, have anything for us?
Yeah, a lot.
Excellent. Love it. Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lena Kifnitis. I'm the student board representative from Student Council. I'm here to tell you about all the student happenings that's been happening at Summit High School in the past month. PSATs were held on Wednesday, and I can say from experience, we're all glad it's over. The results will come out in December. SAT and ACTs will be held in the coming months. I would like to wish luck to all the students who are taking them, especially the students stressing out in the hallways. Commitments. Now, these are the athletes we're all jealous of. I would like to highlight juniors Darcy Chapman and Kate and Lauren Riley. Darcy Chapman committed to University of Pennsylvania for field hockey, and Kate and Lauren Riley committed to lacrosse, committed to Dartmouth for lacrosse. Matt Lamio, our class council president for the juniors, is one of the winners of the National Speech and Debate Association 2021-2022 Speaking in Service Award, which recognizes students who have reached the maximum number of service points in the Student Honor Society. Matt was one of only 184 students from more than 140,000 members to receive this recognition. A huge shout out to Class Council Junior President Matt Lamio. Turning to sports, our sports season is soon coming to a close. Congratulations to the boys soccer team who won their Union County quarterfinals against Union in overtime. Dan Barbara, a senior co-captain, scored the winning goal. Volleyball has also been having huge advancements to help the Summit High School sports. Today was their pink-out game to support breast cancer awareness. Volleyball senior captain Vivian Roberts is the third girls volleyball player and 5th Hilltopper overall to reach 300 kills milestone. Junior captain Zoe Zaharis to reach the 500 assist milestone. Varsity girls volleyball packed the house on Friday night spikes and earned a 2-1 win against Union. Summit is 12-2 and clinched the title of co-divisional champ, a first since 2011. Moving on to cross country, at the Shore Coaches Invitational, varsity boys cross country took home the trophy with senior Jackson Levine winning the individual title in Summit High School all-time number 4 performance. Varsity boys cross country also finished 4th at the Bowdoin Invitational. History was made as varsity bested a new team course average of 17:22 on the challenging course. Moving on to student social events, we recently had, as you mentioned, a mental health assembly with St. Anthony, a speaker who came to talk about his experiences with overcoming his problems and how he overcame them and how he's still struggling with them today. As a student, I would like to thank him and say that hearing someone that's older and went through it is really nice and who's still working through it to this day. This sums up September at Summit High School. Have a nice month. I'm excited to see you next year. Next month, I'm sorry.
You're coming back before next year.
I know.
That was great. That is a welcome perspective in this meeting, getting the bird's eye view of what's happening in the classrooms and in the community of students. So thank you for that. Really well done.
Thank you.
And so we will move on. Lena will get to her homework. Additions, revisions to the agenda. We don't have much, I'm happy to say. And so, Secretary Jess, if you'd like to go through those two.
I will. Thank you, Mr. President. We have 2 additions to the agenda this evening. They're both under personnel. Item V is Catherine Epstein, long-term Spanish teacher substitute at the middle school at a rate of $225 per day, effective November 17th. And item W, Victoria Amarasiri, leave replacement math teacher at the middle school as well, starting at BA plus 15 step 1 at $60,675 prorated, effective October 24th or sooner through February 28th, 2023. And I ask that you consider approving those as part of the personnel agenda this evening. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. We move to committee reports. Let's start with Ed. Ms. Walida Justice. Kick off. Yeah. Get yourself a microphone.
Make sure y'all can actually hear me. So the Ed Committee met on October 6th for 90 minutes. Committee members in attendance were myself, Michael Colon, Joe Cadero, Scott Huff, Crystal Marr, and Joe Porak. Items that were discussed, we had the presentations about the state assessment data, was presented to you this evening by our administration. The next thing that we discussed was an update on supervisor transition to middle school. Overall, faculty and administrators feel positive about this transition. Some departments are experiencing a better flow since this change has taken effect. Biggest takeaway is that the change has been rejuvenating to the departments. Working in teams, not just working within grade level, has had an overall positive impact and is enhancing the ability to address student needs. The third item on our agenda was the multi-tiered system of support presentation that was done by Crystal Marr, Director of Student Personnel Services. She presented on the multi-tiered systems of support, or MTSS. There will be a detailed infographic that has been created to explain the systems of support. That infographic will be placed on the district website under the Student Personnel Services tab, and a family information night will take place later in the school year. This particular presentation actually helps to meet board goal number 2. Just to give you a little definition of what multi-tiered systems of support are. It's a multi-tiered framework which promotes student learning through engaging, evidence-based academic and social emotional practices. This data-driven approach is used to problem solve how to maximize growth for all students. All staff will be supported through training to ensure that the MTSS practices are being used effectively. MTSS is a way to look at students as whole learners and to provide many pathways of support to ensure student success. The process will include universal screening, response to student needs in real time, progress monitoring, and reassessment to determine if different interventions are needed. And lastly, an update on the One Moment, Three Decisions program. At our September meeting, a decision was made to proceed with the program. This particular program will be very helpful to our community at large and is scheduled to be presented in March of 2023. The committee has no recommendations at this time. Our next meeting will be November 3rd. Do any committee members have anything to add?
Very good.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. move on to operations. Mr. Cho.
Yeah, the Operations Committee met on October 4th from 4:30 to 6 p.m. District members in attendance, Superintendent Scott Huff, Derek Jess, Emilio Torres, and Laura Muller. Board members, Melanie Cohn, Kelly Stanton, and myself. The first item is an update on the Investing in Our Future, the bond project for the STEAM expansion, and the ongoing work for the HVAC here in the high school. The department head is in the process of the review with questions about various components. They did ask for some additional information, which has been provided by our architects and consultants. And our hope and expectation is that the Department of Education will complete their review and provide us the feedback and approval in the next 30 days or so. The next steps after that would be the first and second reading at the City Council for final approval. On the HVAC here in the high school, as I mentioned last month, there were some delays in the equipment to be delivered, so all the work was not completed over the summer. Some of the rooftop units for the English wing auditorium here in the library and counseling office have been delivered and will be installed over the teachers' convention break in November. There is still one new replacement rooftop unit for the band room to be delivered later. Sometime this fall, there is a water main repair valve near the high school over on West End and Passaic that will require road closures for several days. The water company in the town asked for our input as to best time to schedule. We've asked for that to be scheduled over the weekend of the teachers' convention break in November 10th to 12th. And we will obviously update and notify the parents and the families to the extent when it is scheduled so they know to avoid that, and hopefully not on a school day to avoid the negative impact on the morning and afternoon. The transportation, bus transportation is one of the areas that has been a big spike in cost due to shortage of drivers and such. So to help mitigate the increase in cost, the district has hired one new part-time driver who's licensed for the appropriate buses, and then also one current custodian is about to receive his license, and we will now start doing our within-district busing needs for students that are required ourselves as opposed to a third party. While it hasn't started yet, but on a fully annual basis, the estimated direct cost now will be $37,000 versus the current $190,000 third-party contract costs, resulting in significant savings for future years. The school security, the state has required that the school district set up an internal school security committee. That has been established in our district with staff members from various schools and cabinet. After their review and meeting, there are two recommendations that are for board consideration that are part of the operations agenda. One is implementation of a hall pass visitor management system, which will be electronic ID scanning and logging for all visitors to our schools. We're going to pilot the system at the high school, the Lawton C. Johnson Summer Middle School, and one elementary school to see how it works and to make sure that it doesn't totally delay or make it harder for visitors to come into the system. And the initial upfront cost for the equipment needed for the pilot would be approximately $6,000. Second item would be an expansion of our current reviewing of the activity on district devices as part of, which was really the Chromebooks. Currently, we engage a firm called LineWise to review the activity on web searches from our Chromebooks, and the recommendation is to expand that to capture all the activity on the Chromebooks. And then the company uses algorithms to monitor the activity to spot potential risks for school violence, self-harm, oversharing, and threats to school and students. Per the 3-year contract, the estimated cost would be $9,000 for 1 year and then $12,000 for years 2 and 3. And again, it's expansion of the work from the existing service provider. And then later in October, we have the first time in 3 years, the annual New Jersey State School Board Association Conference where Cabinet and board members will be attending October 24th through 26th. And then there's some state mandated maintenance reports that are required to be filed by the district. One is a 3-year facilities maintenance plan that reviews the prior year, current year, and the prospective year, next year maintenance budget to be submitted. And that has been reviewed by the Operations Committee. It will be submitted by the district. Then separately, an annual maintenance budget worksheet that looks at how much our annual maintenance spending is compared to our size of our facilities. There have been a number of renovations in process at Jefferson. The first is the classroom pilot remodeling. The district staff has finished the design and ordered the appropriate new cabinetry and such. That work will happen over the winter break. New ceiling, rewiring, replacement of cabinetry, and some painting on the classroom, and then it will be rolled out to future classrooms. And then there was a complete renovation of the third floor bathrooms completed by the facility staff. There's a family of Thomas O'Rourke, who was a former Summit School Board member, has contacted the district, and his children want to honor him with a name scholarship. So we are working with them to establish that up and hopefully in place for this coming year for high school graduates, one male and one female. And then on the finance side, the auditors were on site for their annual work for the past 2 weeks of field work at the district offices. They've finished up their field work, have a small number of open items that the district accounting, finance and accounting staff are working to resolve. And then once some additional information is provided by the state, they'll be able to issue the final audit. So for the board action, it would be approval of the 2 items from the internal school safety committee and approval of the submission of the state required reports. And our next meeting will be November 2nd. Kelly, Melanie, committee members, anything I missed? Derek, is there any updates or missing?
No.
Thank you.
Got all that done in an hour and a half. It's pretty good. Policy, Ms. Cohn.
Yeah, the policy committee met on Tuesday, October 4th, from 3:30 to 4:12 p.m. Attending was Superintendent Huff, Robert Gardella, Kathleen Murphy, Board Member Joseph Porak, Board Member Walida Justice, and myself. We went over several policy topics, beginning with the abolishing of policy 1648.13, which is titled School Employment Vaccination Requirements. On August 15th, the governor issued Executive Order 302, which rescinds the requirement of Executive Order 253, requiring all public, private, and parochial schools to adopt a policy for employees to show proof of vaccination or submit to COVID-19 testing. So as a result, it is recommended that this policy be abolished. Moving on, policy 2412 and regulation 2412, home instruction due to health conditions. We discussed an internal revision to both the policy and regulation. And that is adding the word virtually to allow for an additional alternative manner in which to deliver home instruction. Policy 2425 and regulation 2425, policy both titled Emergency Virtual or Remote Instruction Program. It's a revision of the policy and it's a new regulation. Both have been revised to align with the New Jersey Department of Education requirements, that each school district have a board-approved program submitted to the commissioner by September 30th, 2022, and annually thereafter as specified by the commissioner. This program was presented at the last board meeting, and the district is in compliance with the policy and regulation, and the revised policy and new regulation are mandated. Policy 3270, professional responsibilities, and regulation 3270, lesson plans and plan books have been updated to reflect current best practices in education. The policy has been revised to remove blanks, literal blanks, and requires the principal or designate to review lesson plans, assign extra or alternative duties to teaching staff, and excuse teaching staff from faculty meetings. Policy 5200 and regulation 5200, attendance, have been revised to make the policy and regulation language clearer and to allow the school district appropriate discretion when categorizing days as applicable to truancy. Policy 5513 and Regulation 5513, care of school property, have been revised to include an updated process used to assess and collect textbook fines. With the revision, fines may be assessed in accordance with the schedule approved by the superintendent or designee. The revised policy and regulation are mandated. Policy 8550, meal charges outstanding. This policy has been revised to align with the latest U.S. Department of Agricultural requirements. The revision removes a section of the policy that allowed the district to provide an alternate breakfast or lunch if there were food service bills in arrears. This was not a practice of this district, and it's now removed from the policy. So the committee recommendations are to do first readings of policies, regulations 2412, 2425, 3270, 5200, 5513, and policy 8550, and abolish policy 1648.13 as just noted. And then do second readings of 0143.2, high school student representative to the Board of Education, 0163 quorum, 2415 Every Student Succeed Acts, 5517 school district issued student identification cards. The next meeting for the committee is Monday, November 7th at 3:30 p.m. And committee members, was there anything that I missed? And for the rest of the board, are there any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cohen. Communications,
All right,
Ms. Miller.
thank you. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. The Communications Committee met on October 4th for 45 minutes. In attendance were Scott Huff, Lorene Callender, and Doug Orr, and joining me from the board were Jan Cho and Kelly Stanton. We had 4 agenda items. The first was, per usual, to go over some existing projects and communications, and here those are. We have tested our emergency systems through phone, email, and SMS formats, and we got high results. So people should be getting their emergency information from us. We have a new teacher feature that is being developed. Lorene, it isn't out yet. It's not out yet, correct? No, all right, then I won't tell you who it is. Although I ran into the teacher and told the teacher how happy we were that such a teacher as that would be featured.
Can't do this stuff.
Gotta come to my committee. Superintendent Huff will continue his staff lunches. So the lunches are conducted 2 times a year at each of our schools. Jan was kind enough to tell me that that meant that there were 18 lunches. Thank you, Jan, in case I couldn't do that math. And it's an opportunity for, again, free exchange for paraprofessionals, professional staff members to talk to the superintendent. It's, these are humanity moments where we can just get to know one another more and have a free exchange outside of rooms like this. So those will continue, and we're very happy that they will be. The district is also checking the accessibility of the website. This is required by policy. However, we would be doing this type of assessment as good practice regardless. A third-party audit will be conducted by our website provider, and that type of audit will be done at no charge to us. Our second conversation had to do with the Internal Communications Committee. The district announced that it's establishing an Internal Communications Committee. It's a fabulous idea that the committee fully supports. Such a committee of volunteer members of our district at any level, I believe, correct? And anybody's welcome. Will help the district, they'll provide input, feedback, ideas, so that the internal communications that are received meet their needs and meet their points of view. Again, we completely support that committee and look forward to hearing more about it. Thirdly, as Mr. Cologne stated, Our coffees with BOE president and superintendent will begin again on October 19th, 9 a.m. at the Washington School. One clarification, it can only be 3 of us. Otherwise, there would be a quorum, and then Open Meeting Act would be violated, and that would be a bad thing. So I just want anyone in the public listening that if you come and we're not all there, it's not because we don't care, it's because we can't all be there. So only 3 board members will be there. 2 of them are sitting here, and we're gonna roll the dice and figure out who the 3rd one will be. I hope you'll all come. It is, again, free exchange outside of a room like this where that type of free exchange cannot necessarily happen. Finally, we spoke about assisting with the exchange of good information and strong knowledge. It wasn't a discussion that led to any decisions. It was more of an awareness building conversation where we just always want to ensure that our district processes and the good things that we do don't become either lost in the shuffle or become kind of a blah, blah, blah moment for our families. We did talk about, Anita, FYI, for instance, multi-tiered support systems. Here is a complicated sounding term that is part of one of our goals. It can start to sound to people who are not familiar with it, like a lot of like, what? And we just discussed how we can make kind of pretty cool, fascinating, very good processes like that better understood by our community. That wasn't the only one we spoke about, don't worry. And I'm glad to hear that there's going to be an infographic coming. That's great. That was it for us. We will next meet on November 8th. We have no recommendations to the board. And did I miss anything, or did I do questions, comments, concerns?
Thank you for clarifying the point on Open Public Meeting Act. That was,
Small detail.
yeah, that was that's good too. A good point to make. I wouldn't want to do that again after the meeting. Okay. Negotiations Committee did not meet, so nothing to report. Liaison reports. Do we have any board members with liaison reports?
Sorry.
Ladies first?
No, you go, I just spoke.
Yes, I am the board representative to the Summit Education Foundation. I went to their first board meeting for this current school year. We have the new president, Amy Burke, and other new board members seated. They are busy planning for the first time in 3 years in-person events for the donors and supporters. And the fall grant cycle process is in the works with the appropriate grants committee members. And then they're also kind of strategizing and planning in terms of how to better communicate the role of the SEF and what the mission of the SEF is for all the new families that have come to the district the past couple of years, and to work on the fundraising plans for the balance of the year.
Is it on?
No, it's all.
No.
Now I just.
Yeah, they're very.
They are, they're finicky. I attended the Union County Board meeting, which is a meeting where all representatives from every Union County school are invited to attend. I'm the representative this year, but of course, because he's a wonderful man, Michael Colon was there as well. There was regular business, nothing of particular, particular importance to us. They spoke about signed legislation, which all of us on the board can get through our Leader magazine or through other avenues. But they did have their, Jeff Gate, the director of the Office of Preparedness and Emergency Planning, I believe that's the title. And I had actually been excited to go in hopes that there would be something of interest to bring back to the board and to the district. And really, we're doing very well in our safety protocols. We always have, and we continue to do so. The one thing that I'd bring to the board is just we spoke a lot, Jeff spoke a lot about how difficult it is to be transparent or be perceived as being transparent about safety, because once a safeguard is known to our public, it is no longer a safeguard. So the public has a need, particularly parents in our schools have a need to want to know What are the safeguards? What do you do when? And we have an obligation not to share more than we need to. So we were affirmed as a district by Mr. Gate in only sharing, what is feasible to share to safeguard our students and our faculty. That was all I think that there was to bring back. Did you have anything else, Michael, that you?
No, that was the main
Yeah.
point. Just, yeah.
And that was it.
Great, thank you for that. And that ends the committee reports. So we can move right into public comment. And so Secretary Jess, you have well-prepared comments prior to public comment, if you could offer them.
I will. Thank you, Mr. President. Excuse me. During public comment, please be advised that anyone wishing to speak shall first seek recognition by the presiding officer. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address in a clear, audible tone for the record. All comments should be directed to the board president and not an individual member of the board. Unless additional time is granted by the board president, please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. In addition, please note that this portion of the meeting is for public comment and not meant to be a back and forth. Board members and administration will not respond to questions or comments at this time, and information will be provided as soon as possible.
Great, and I will add to that the purpose, one of the main purposes of the coffee, which will occur more than once a year, is to have the back and forth, right? So this is not the forum for it, but we want to offer the opportunity for that. And so there is that, which is, next week. So with that point, I will open for public comment on items on the agenda. Okay, we'll close that. Public comments on items not on the agenda.
Hi. Okay, my name is Isabel Tomko, and I live at 10 Hillcrest Avenue, Summit, New Jersey. I'm a sophomore here at Summit High School, and I've been working with Ms. Herber to educate Summit High School about fentanyl, and this isn't an easy conversation to have, but it's necessary. So in order to educate Summit High School, I kind of wanted to talk to you guys first and make sure you know all the information. So fentanyl is a synthetic opioid that is up to 50 times stronger than heroin and 100 times stronger than morphine. Fentanyl has quickly made its way into every street drug available: marijuana, edibles, all pills, including Oxycontin and Percocet, heroin, cocaine, etc. A piece of fentanyl the size of a grain of sugar can kill. Rainbow fentanyl is making its way all over the US. They are pills that look like sweet tarts. In a recent 15-week enforcement operation, the New York DEA seized 500,000 lethal rainbow fentanyl pills. That is the equivalent of 500,000 lethal doses of fentanyl. Fentanyls are pills solely made with fentanyl, disguised as Oxycontin, Adderall, Percocet, Xanax, and more. These fake pills look identical and are extremely deadly. I'm sure you are wondering, why would anyone do that? Dealers use fentanyl pills and fentanyl-laced drugs because it is cheap, and if you survive it, it is an extreme high that is highly addictive. Accidental fentanyl poisoning happens when someone takes a fentanyl pill or drug laced with it and becomes unresponsive. Breathing slows and eventually stops. After that, it's too late and the victim will be dead. Two incredibly important points are next. A nasal spray medicine called Narcan reverses the effects of any opioid by blocking the brain's receptors. The victim wakes up and continues to breathe. It has no effect if the person does not have opioids in their system. Narcan does not require a prescription, and in New Jersey is $15 at CVS. The Good Samaritan law provides immunity from arrest for simple possession offenses to the poisoning victim and the person who sought medical assistance. The adolescents of Summit needs to know what these two things are because they can save lives. Now you know more about fentanyl than probably everyone at Summit High School. We need this type of education so that if somebody makes a choice to try drugs, it won't be their last choice. We need to get fentanyl and Narcan education into the drug and alcohol curriculum for middle and high schoolers, and we need it immediately. I've already started conversations with my teachers and administrators to find a way to do this. I hope we can count on all of you to support our efforts moving forward. Let us be proactive against this impending epidemic instead of just reactive. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or items not on the agenda? Okay. Move to close. My mic is going off again. Very stubborn today. All right, we'll have a motion to close public comment. Do I have one?
Moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? So moved.
Okay. Approval of board minutes. Item A, which is the minutes themselves. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved.
Item 13 on the agenda, curriculum instruction program, items A through G, and I will say before I ask for a vote, maybe the most pleasant thing that I saw on the agenda was item A in the appendix with all of the field trips that we have planned. Back to normal, speech and debate, museums, Model UN, Ellis Island, et cetera, et cetera. So great to see that back on our agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Dr. Porak?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Cohn?
Yes.
Vice President Cho?
Yes.
President Cologne?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving to finance. Lot of finance items. We'll go from A to GG for approval. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Dr. Porak?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Cohn?
Yes.
Vice President Cho?
Yes.
President Cologne?
Yes.
Motion carries.
School board operation, item 15 on the agenda. We have A through E. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Dr. Porak?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Cohn?
Yes.
Vice President Cho?
Yes.
President Cologne?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, personnel. Items A through W, inclusive of the addendum. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move.
Second.
Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Dr. Porak?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Cohn?
Yes.
Vice President Cho?
Yes.
President Cologne?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, the exhaustive list of policies and regulations up for approval, both first reading and second reading, as noted in the committee readout. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Dr. Porak?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Cohn?
Yes.
Vice President Cho?
Yes.
President Cologne?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, we do have a need for a brief closed session. So should I motion to go to closed, then come out and motion to close both closed and open? Or give me the sequencing of opening and closing that makes the most sense?
Doing a lot of opening and closing. So we will make a motion to go into executive session. I'll read the resolution, we'll vote, then we can, since no action will be taken and the board will not return, we will make a motion then to adjourn.
Very good.
So, whereas pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12B, the Board of Education may exclude the public from that portion of a public meeting wherein the board discusses any of the matters set forth at NJSA 10:4-12B 1 through 9. Now therefore be it resolved that in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, the Board of Education shall conduct a closed session pursuant to the provisions of NJSA 10:4-12B for the purpose of discussing the following matters. Personnel. It is anticipated the length of time the executive session will be 30 minutes, and that action will not be taken after the executive session. May we have a motion to go into executive session, please?
Move. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? So moved. And may we have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? So moved. We're adjourned at 8:18. Thank you.